MacGyver SG-1 Episode 18 First Christmas. There was a thin layer of frost forming on the windows of Jack O'Neill's living room as Daniel Jackson watched the snowflakes fall outside. There had already been snow on the ground from a few days ago, but it helped get him in the spirit of the holidays as he sipped his coffee. He and Teal'c had surprised Jack earlier in the day with the tree and all the typical things needed to enjoy Christmas. The Colonel was less than enthusiastic. He had avoided the holiday as much as he could for the last few years since he didn't have a family to celebrate with anymore. He usually stayed at the SGC the previous years and said it was to let General Hammond be home with his grandkids. Not this year, however. The General insisted he stay off the base and try to have a relaxing vacation. As Teal'c crawled out from tightening the tree stand, they can hear Jack's truck pulling up outside. Daniel placed his mug on the side table and ran to greet him at the door. Jack's snow-covered form staggered in, carrying various bags and looking annoyed. He peeled off his knit hat and wet jacket right away. Why does everybody wait until the last minute to get things for Christmas? Honestly. And in this weather? Daniel knew enough to keep quiet, but the Jaffa raised an eyebrow. Were you not also shopping last minute, O'Neill? Jack dumped some of the bags on the kitchen counter. Well, blame Daniel. He's the one who insisted he had to have hot chocolate. And marshmallows. Yes, Daniel. And marshmallows. As much as he acted annoyed, Jack smiled internally at his friend's childlike enthusiasm. I do not understand how puff sugar is connected to the birth of the Christ child. Teal'c had only been on Earth for a couple of years and he was still learning about its customs and traditions. Both Jack and Daniel looked at each other to see who would be taking this one. The archaeologist stepped up as Jack opened the fridge to add to it. Well, Teal'c, it's not directly related, but through the years, things get added on by tradition. Like hot cocoa when it's cold, or trimming the tree. Or ugly sweaters. Jack added, pointing to Daniel's bright red and green Christmas sweater. See, whether you're Catholic, Jewish, or from Teal'c, the holidays give us an excuse to be a little kinder to each other and enjoy being with friends and family. Teal'c paused for a moment to contemplate what his teammate said. It is most unfortunate that Major Carter could not join us. Jack kept his head down at the snacks he was preparing. Yeah, well, she usually spends it with her family. Daniel could see the disappointment he tried to hide and decided to switch topics. You know, Jack, I think you need a sweater like mine. Jack looked down at his blue Henley shirt and then back to Daniel. Not a chance. Yep, I think you're jealous. Yeah, right. They were interrupted by a knock at the door. Jack couldn't imagine who it could be as he moved to answer it. But Daniel and Teal'c shared a knowing look. Standing at his doorstep was his brother and nephew, wearing winter coats and carrying backpacks and wrapped packages in their arms. Merry Christmas, Jack. Mac? What are you doing here? He stepped out of their way and let the two out of the snowfall. Daniel invited us. Jack turned back to his teammate for an explanation as the new guests kicked snow from their boots. Surprise! I figured since this was your first Christmas since you found each other, they could celebrate with us? Jackson hoped he didn't make things worse. Mac could sense the tension. Hey, listen, if it's too much, I mean, we could leave. There's a ski lodge I used to go to near here, and... No. You're more than welcome. I have the room. I just didn't expect anyone. Merry Christmas. He shook MacGyver's hand and then his son's.
Hi, Dr. Jackson.
Sean was happy to see the team's archaeologist again. Come on, Sean. It's Daniel. Here, let me take those from you. As Daniel relieved him from his packages, Mac's son noticed the large man in the red mock turtleneck waiting his turn. Greetings, Sean Malloy. I have heard many good things about you. A pleasant smile shone on the Jaffa's face as he bowed his head in respect.
Oh, thanks. You're Teal'c, right? Merry Christmas.
As he shook his hand, Teal'c was pleasantly surprised at how comfortable the young man was with him. Usually there's a lot of staring and unease. Clearly, he thought, his father had taught him manners. Here, let me take those bags to your rooms. You're bunking down the hall here. Jack pointed as he hoisted the bag over his shoulder and started to walk. Mac turned to greet the other two SG members, and as he patted Teal'c's broad shoulder, he felt a tug on his arm. Daniel looked nervous. Mac, I need your help with something. Hi, Daniel. Merry Christmas. Oh, sorry. Merry Christmas. He took the hint, but looked over his shoulder. MacGyver took notice. What? What is it? Okay. Christmas has never been an easy time for Jack. See, since his son died and his wife left, both Mac and Sean immediately understood and looked down to contemplate the heaviness of what he must carry with him. So, I was hoping with you here, maybe we could start some new traditions and take his mind off it. MacGyver reached out and grabbed his friend's shoulder. I understand. Just then, Jack came around the corner and spotted everyone clustered together. Oh, what the heck's going on here? They quickly stepped apart from each other as Mac spoke for the group. Oh, nothing, just deciding who gets to put the star on top of the tree. Uh-huh. Sean crossed the room with an open hand.
Hi, Uncle Jack. I didn't get a chance to say hi yet. Have you been enjoying those emails?
Jack still wasn't used to being an uncle, but pulled his nephew in for a hug. Hey, buddy. Merry Christmas. Yeah, those are great. Oh, I love the one about the monkey. As they shared a chuckle, the other three approached, confused. Monkey? Yeah, Sean's been sending me emails with some great jokes and memes. He has he? This apparently was news to his father. Yeah, not you? Jack couldn't help but tease. Mac wasn't sure if he felt jealous or pride that the two had been bonding. The kitchen phone suddenly rang and they all cleared a path for Jack to answer. Hello?
Hello, sir. Merry Christmas.
Jack's face lit up. Carter, how are you? Shouldn't you be on a plane now? Jack checked his watch for confirmation.
Well, all flights have been canceled due to the snow.
Oh.
Yeah.
There was an awkward pause between the two.
So, I was wondering if you want some company?
Jack suddenly realized how rude he seemed. Oh, yeah, sure. Of course, I'm sorry. Yeah, come on by. Daniel and Teal'c are here, and Mac and Sean just showed up. The voice on the other end had a hint of disappointment behind her excitement.
Wow, the gang's all there, huh?
Yeah, we're teaching Teal'c all about the spirit of Christmas. Come, join the fun.
Okay, I'm on my way. See you soon.
Okay, bye. As he hung up the phone, he turned to see his guests, grinning mischievously. What? Sam's coming? Daniel asked, knowingly. Yeah. Why? Oh, nothing. He avoided looking at anyone in order to avoid giggling. He knew how Jack and Carter felt about each other, even if they couldn't admit it. It was an unspoken truth that he and the Jaffa kept to themselves. Mac looked around the room. So, in the meantime, want to start decorating the tree? Jack relented. Yeah, I need to find the box of ornaments. Sean, you and Teal'c, want to help me look? Sean nodded, and Teal'c silently followed them both to the lower level of the house. Daniel and Mac made their way to the living room and started to prepare for the evening. So, I wanted to thank you for the information you sent me on the Eye of Osiris. It's pretty fascinating stuff. Mac was moving the decorative pillows from the couch. Yeah? You think it could be related to the Gould? The archaeologist shrugged, but still beamed at the possibility. I'm not sure how yet, but seems possible. Well, let me know if you find anything. Daniel nodded, but looked over his shoulder to make sure they were still alone. Just to warn you, Jack's been a little cranky. He wasn't expecting any of us, let alone all of us here. Well, let's try to keep him distracted and not thinking about what he's missing, huh? After a few minutes, the three men brought up big cardboard boxes filled with old holiday decorations. I still can't believe you two showed up at my house with a tree. There was the mood Mac had been warned about. Come on, Jack. It's Christmas. Every house needs a tree. Mac and Sean started rummaging through the boxes the moment they were put down. Daniel took some lights to start wrapping around the branches. Besides, Jack, we have to teach Teal'c what you've been missing all these years. Jack smirked. He was starting to get into the festive mood despite himself. And once Carter was there, he could let himself relax. Yeah, I guess so. He shrugged. Over the next hour, the group shared stories and drank eggnog while decorating the living room and strategically placing each ornament, based on size and color, on the pine tree in the corner of the room. Mac told stories of his grandpa taking him skating on a nearby pond, Daniel shared how excited his parents got for Christmas despite being more scholarly than religious. Teal'c recalled tales of his son Ryak, enjoying the traditions of the harvest season on Teal'c. They all stopped when they saw Jack staring down at an ornament in his hand. It was a Santa dressed in a red and white version of a baseball uniform, posed ready to swing his bat. This was Charlie's favorite. He used to place it right in the middle. He loved Christmas so much. Jack's eyes glazed over. Everyone else stayed silent out of respect for the moment, until Sean moved closer.
Was he like me and started celebrating the day after Halloween?
That angle seemed to work as Jack looked up in surprise. Yeah. He called it Snuggly season. Mac nodded and Sean giggled.
Sweaters and leaves changing color?
Yeah. Plus everything becomes pumpkin flavored. Charlie loved all of it. As Jack hung his son's ornament with somber pride, Mac gave Sean a loving wink. He wouldn't have thought of that approach. It was then that Teal'c glanced at a nearby clock. Should Major Carter not have arrived by now? The rest checked their watches, then looked to each other. Jack swiftly ran to the wall phone and started dialing. After a few frustrating seconds, he hung up the receiver. Nothing. Mac stepped forward and spoke up. All right, let's go looking for her. She can't be far. Probably just got stuck in the snow. The brothers headed to their coats simultaneously and slid on their knit hats. Jack looked to the others. You guys hold the fort down in case she calls. We'll take my truck. His brother was already halfway out the door. As Jack opened the driver's side door, he watched MacGyver lift the storage hatch in the back and rummage around before climbing into the cab. What are you looking for? The colonel asked, relieved he never locked it most days. Mac was putting a seatbelt on as the truck started. Rope. I remembered a camping trip my grandpa took me on one time, and the rope may come in handy. Jack had no idea what he was talking about, and the worry for Carter was starting to gnaw at him. They sat in silence for a few minutes while they drove through the falling snow. Mac could feel the agitation coming off his brother, and decided to distract him. You know, I didn't always like Christmas time. Jack glanced in confusion. He assumed MacGyver was made for the season. Really? How's that even possible? Santa not bring you a chemistry set or something? Max smirked. No. Around this time when I was a kid, my dad and grandmother died in a car accident. Jack uncomfortably stared ahead, keeping his eyes on the road. Then when I was older, I missed Christmas with my mother, and the next day she had a stroke and passed away. I always felt such guilt for not being there. I mean, I'd always make sure to distract myself until the day passed each year, you know. It just hurt so much. He turned to look out at the snow-covered road, and push away the old memories. Jack realized if anyone could understand what he was going through, it was Mac. So, how did you get through it? He was asking more for advice than just curiosity. Mac kept his eyes locked on the road ahead while he thought. He knew this wasn't easy for Jack. Well, I had some experiences that gave me the insight and forgiveness that I needed. One was a conversation I had with someone who was with her when it happened. He told me some things she said that let me know, in her own way, that it was alright and not to blame myself. He realized this didn't really compare to anything that Jack felt about the loss of his son. It was his sidearm that Charlie was playing with that accidentally killed him. Of course Jack felt responsible. MacGyver tried a different angle. You know, the other thing that really helped was realizing the wonderful people in my life. I knew I was loved and valued. Even in the last few years, my world has been added to in ways I couldn't even have imagined. Jack figured he knew where he was going. Yeah, with Sean, right? Yeah, with Sean. With this girl I've been seeing, Cindy. And with you, Jack. The Colonel wasn't expecting this brutal honesty. I was an only child. I always felt alone when my parents died. Then you came along and brought Daniel and Teal'c and Sam into my life. Yeah, I know this is still weird and new for both of us, but I'm thankful. Jack was stunned, didn't know what to say. As he stumbled for the words, he could see something in the distance and slowed the truck down. It was a figure waving their arms in the air. A wave of relief washed over O'Neill as he recognized Carter all bundled up in her winter parka and looking a bit annoyed. He put the truck in park and left it running as he and Mac hopped out. Carter! You okay? Jack asked, resisting the urge to embrace her.
Yeah, I'm fine, sir. I tried to call, but there's no service on this road.
She turned to MacGyver, whose longer hair was sticking out from the bottom of his wool hat. It made it easier to tell the brothers apart, even in a snowstorm.
Hey, Mac. Merry Christmas.
He responded with a hug. Hey, Sam. You too. Were you walking? Did your car die? Shaking her head, the Major turned and pointed back behind her.
No, the snow kicked up fast and I slid over that mound.
Instantly, the brothers went to see the damage. Over the right side of the road and down 10 feet was a gray Kia resting against a fresh mound of snow. It didn't look damaged, but was not moving out of there anytime soon. Or so Jack thought. He could see Mac's eyes narrow in thought as he looked back at the huge oak across the road. What? Mac moved with purpose as he started giving direction. Sam, can you give Jack your keys? Jack, I need you to get behind the wheel. Jack watched as Mac jumped up to the back of his truck and retrieved the bundle of rope. Is this why you were checking to see what I had in the storage area before? Yeah, I thought Sam may have gotten stuck somewhere and wanted to have options. Jack shrugged, figuring his brother knew what he was talking about, and turned to his second in command. Carter, why don't you jump in the truck? We can handle this. The Major's back stiffened.
No, sir. I can help.
Jack had started to walk away, but turned back. No, seriously. It's okay. We've got it.
I'm sure you do, sir, but I want to help.
Mac was unraveling the rope when he decided to intervene. Sam, he's not saying you're incapable. He just wants to get you warmed up. The heat's on in the truck. Go. Relax. The astrophysicist lowered her shoulders and took a breath.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
She gave an embarrassed smile and nervously looked back at Jack before heading for the truck. Luckily, no one else dared to be out in the weather, so they had room to work. Mac wrapped the rope around the tree trunk and the other end around the axle of the Kia's back tire. Then instructed Jack to slowly give it gas in reverse. The rope tightened and wrapped itself over and around the tire again and again. The car was pulling itself free and towards the strong oak. The soft snow made the task easier since it was more forgiving on a vehicle. Before too long, the mid-sized car was back up on the road and pulled into a nearby lot for the night. Once all the bags were emptied from the back, the three were on their way back to Jack's place. As Jack pulled into his driveway, he noticed the area had been freshly shoveled, along with the sidewalk. When the three entered the door, the smell of pine and the warm glow of festive lights greeted them. Next, they found Sean, Daniel, and Teal'c laying back on the couch, watching a Hallmark Christmas movie. What are you guys doing? Jack asked as Carter took the bag off him.
Daniel was trying to explain what makes a good Christmas movie to Teal'c.
Sean explained as they got up to greet Carter. What? And you chose this? Jack sarcastically asked among the greetings to his newest guest.
Sure! We're about to find out if Mary wins the bake-off and gets a puppy.
Jack's hands flew up and frantically waved, trying to wipe away the past few moments from his memory. All right. Stop. Just stop. You're going to ruin this before we even begin. Let's get a classic for him. He scooped up the remote and clicked until he landed on a favorite. Christmas Vacation? Daniel asked. Well, yeah, I mean, for starters, if we're going to show Teal'c a holiday movie, it should be the best. Why? What did you have in mind? Daniel smirked at everyone before answering. Scrooged? Jack shot daggers at the archaeologist. What is that supposed to mean? No. You know what? That gets added to the list. Mac raised his brow. The list? Well, yeah, right? I mean, we have today and tomorrow. Let's watch our favorites. Mac and Daniel shared a smile as everyone looked to each other for confirmation. All right. You're on. Over the next few hours, the group went through a few favorites, which led to lighthearted debates about their favorite Christmas movies, to their favorite Twilight Zone episodes, to their favorite childhood gifts. Before long, they had forgotten to watch the next movie and settled into relaxed, casual conversation. For every story of adventure told by one, there was a tale of past dangers told by another. Mac and Sean didn't feel like outsiders, and nobody felt like guests any longer. Jack seemed to be wrapped up in the spirit and even allowed Daniel to place one of the Santa hats on his head. A mix of cocoa mugs and beer bottles sat on the coffee table among various bowls of snacks. The fireplace crackled and popped occasionally. At one point, Carter was sitting next to Jack, her feet wrapped in a blanket, She would flirtatiously lean against his shoulder or touch his arm when laughing at his dry humor. Oh, how he wished for some mistletoe overhead and a few eyes looking elsewhere. You know, I know we're supposed to wait until morning, but what do you say we open some gifts now? The idea caught everyone by surprise. Sure. If that's what you want. Is that all right with everybody else? Mac wasn't going to try and stop Jack's newfound Christmas spirit, and it seemed everyone else agreed. The group scattered to get their bags and started passing packages to the names written on the tags. Okay, who wants to go first? Daniel asked as they huddled back in front of the brightly lit tree. Mac was elected and handed out identical-sized boxes to the SG members. Jack got his open first. It was a blue Swiss Army knife. He looked around to the others.
Oh.
Carter's was green, Daniel's was black, and Teal'c had a wood-covered his.
Oh, thanks.
Dad got me one when we first met.
Sean explained. His dad bought him a new camera this holiday. Yeah, I find they come in handy. Max smirked. Carter almost let out a laugh, knowing a bit of the legend from before they met.
Yeah, I've heard.
Teal'c smiled and bowed his head. Thank you, MacGyver. Yeah, thanks. Jack held up the gift to show his appreciation before slipping it into his pants pocket. The others followed suit after expressing their thanks as well. Soon it was the Colonel's turn. He enthusiastically tossed each a mound of something that looked like an unsupervised child had tried to wrap it on his own. Daniel took a moment to look his over. Wrap these yourself, Jack? Yeah. Why? Oh, no reason. He answered before getting an elbow from Sam in his ribs. She wasn't about to let their host get picked on. They each opened a variation on a rope bracelet with a tiny compass in the middle. Everyone had a different color, and Jack explained how it could be worn on duty or off. And the rope is paracord, so if you need rope in an emergency, you just untangle it. Mac leaned back. He was enjoying watching this new kid-like side of his brother and was glad to witness him letting his guard down. I have a little something extra for Carter. Jack nervously reached from behind his back and brought forth a bigger box with a ribbon on it.
Oh, you didn't have to, sir.
Carter took the gift and pulled apart the bow. Inside was a beautiful navy blue top that she held up to admire. The boys quietly smiled at how cute this moment was and didn't want to spoil it.
I don't know what to say.
Jack shrugged off the heaviness in the air. Nah, it's no big deal. I saw it and remembered how you like blues, so, He was about ready to change the subject when Samantha leaned over and gave an ever so gentle kiss on the side of his cheek, whispering,
Thank you, Jack.
His face blushed and he felt suddenly very warm as he nodded in response. Words were unavailable at that moment. The rest of the gifts were exchanged with stories from each, as the friends took their time passing them out. Daniel was the last to hand out his, and Carter noticed a mischievous grin as he readied himself for everyone's reaction. Mac's eyes narrowed as he tore into the wrapping. Oh no, Jack moaned as he looked inside. Come on, hold it up. Daniel had waited all day for this moment. Jack pulled out a red, green, and black wool nightmare. It was only surpassed by the sweater that Daniel had sported all day. Everyone around the tree had a similar one in their size. Some had bell designs and others had wreaths. They all smiled and looked at Jack to see what he would do. After a moment of staring at it, the Colonel slid the Santa hat off his head and pulled the new gift over his well-worn Henley shirt.
Well, at least it fits.
Sean looked at his dad, who was as surprised as the rest of the gang, who sat stunned. Well, come on. I'm not going to be the only one wearing one of these god-awful things. The rest of the group quickly followed suit, and they all pulled on their new gifts over their heads. Now, who wants eggnog? O'Neill counted the show of hands and asked his brother to help as he headed for the kitchen. Mac hopped to his feet and put his arm around Jack. You having a good Christmas, Jack? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Thanks for being here. My pleasure. Is there anything else I can do for you? Jack thought for a minute. Actually, next year, can we do Christmas at your place? The question took MacGyver off guard. Yeah, sure, Jack. You know it's LA, so there's no snow, right? Jack smirked and tugged on his top. Exactly. Too warm for Christmas sweaters. Mac chuckled as his twin grabbed the carton of eggnog from the fridge. Well, let's go. We have to introduce Teal'c to the wonders of a little movie called A Christmas Story. As Jack turned and headed back to the living room, MacGyver walked to the cabinet to grab some mugs when something caught his eye. Outside, the snow had stopped, and the yard now sparkled with the moonlight reflecting off the untouched snow. A wave of calm covered him as his body relaxed. He hadn't felt this since he was a carefree child. This new group of friends, family even, have given him the best gift he could ever have imagined. The gift of peace. Merry Christmas. The MacGyver SG-1 audio series is written, performed, and produced by Mac Jackson and part of the Forever Adventure Network. Additional performers: Mike Jackson Jr. and Cindy Jackson. Look for us on all social networks. Tips and donations can be given at Patreon and the Forever Adventure Network. Happy holidays, everyone. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.